Look, I agree with you. I think that Nikola Jokic right now, like, would I vote for him over Joel Embiid? I don't know. I don't know how much I want to make a proclamation on that without having like really thought that through. They would clearly be the top two guys right now.
I
Like
think it's
at
close.
this,
It's close right now, but you add Harden into the mix,
right.
and I do think it changes the calculus quite a bit.
Right. And you're 100% right. Nikola Jokic is having a historic offensive season. He's averaging 26 points, 14 rebounds, and 8 assists. He's doing it with very little guard play. He's shooting 57, 37, 80 from the field, which is like impossible. And like when you watch Jokic, somehow the numbers like don't capture it. It feels like,
Yeah.
like he's putting up historic numbers. He's putting up numbers that like,
But he didn't play in the fourth quarter of the All-Star game, Sam.
God damn it, Dave.
God
damn it. But like, I guess that like when you watch this Denver team, it's just unbelievable. Nikola Jokic is
should not be happening. It shouldn't be happening. Yeah.
I just really worry that voters, people who think that way, and there are people in the voting body who think this way, unfortunately, are going to have some voter fatigue with Nikola Jokic having won last year.
Whereas, it was just last year. I mean, it's funny because we heard this about Giannis.
Are you really going to have, right? I think this is what it comes down to. Are you really going to have a guy that some people don't consider a top 5 player in the league? I think that's wrong.
Insane. The guy's been the best player in the world, arguably, for like 2 years. I just...
Totally. I think that you're 100% right. And I think Nikola Jokic is unequivocally a top 5 player in the league. But there are people who do not think he's a top 5 player in the league. And some of those people have MVP votes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's going to be hard to sell those people on a guy that is not a top 5 player in the league, in their minds, not in my mind or in your mind, but in their minds, that guy winning MVP back-to-back years. I think it's going to be a hard sell for some people.
I didn't follow sports media at all during like the Steve Nash MVPs, but this feels oddly familiar. The difference is that you could look at Steve Nash's numbers, and aside from the assists, you could be like, oh, well, this is pedestrian. I mean, he's a great shooter. You can't say that about Nikola Jokic. There's nothing pedestrian about it. And anybody who is paying attention knows what this guy is doing. And I mean, I'm not going to throw people under the bus, but if you don't think this guy is in that top tier of player, I'm just not sure what else he could do to change your mind at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, it also feels like Giannis a few years ago, where it just maybe it's just the glacial pace of mental change that it requires in the NBA circles. And it's probably because everyone spends too much time on Twitter where, I don't know, man, like they care more about what Jared Allen's wearing than what he's doing on a basketball court.
But you know what the funny thing is about Jokic and the Giannis conversation from a couple years ago? Because I think that's the one that it reminds me most of. Just like elite productivity. Some people didn't consider him a top 5 player in the world at that point, right? And they were wrong to think that as well. I think that with Jokic, where it gets weird is just he's had the playoff success. Like you could go back during that time with Giannis and say like, okay, this guy hasn't won in the playoffs yet. I mean, you can look at Nikola Jokic's playoff numbers. They're better than the regular season numbers. Like he's outstanding when the games matter most.
But he ran out of gas in the playoffs. And now, even though he was the only guy out there and now it's held against him, now he's a playoff choker. It sounds like Steph Curry too, right? It's just that people pick and choose the guys that they like. And I think that, maybe it's what he looks like.
Maybe. Honestly, like I think there is a lot of like dissonance there. Like it just in terms of him being like an overweight white dude who just like dominates the league. I think there's like,
although he's in impeccable condition right now. I mean, he might be, he's one of the handful of most in shape guys in the league. I mean, especially when you consider how big he is. You watch
in terms of like not getting fatigued. Yes. But he doesn't look like
an endurance athlete. Yeah.
Right. And he's a better athlete than what people give credit for. Like I've written before, like you talk to people at P3, like one thing that really stood out to them is his ability to get off the floor quickly, not his necessarily ability to like leap off the floor and get as high as like Andre Drummond for someone like
his
that.
second
Right?
jump on
But it
Tippins,
doesn't matter.
his timing is excellent. I mean, we can sit here and extol the virtues of Nikola Jokic forever, and it'll never change the mind of some people.
Yeah, until they win a title, and then it'll
Exactly.
change.
Yep. And Giannis
like he'll become modern day Larry Bird at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Giannis winning the title totally changes the script about Giannis.
Yeah. Like there's what Nikola Jokic is doing right now and what he did last year is better than anything Dirk has ever done in his career.
Oh man.
He's at a higher level right now than Dirk ever was. And Dirk is a top 20 player of all time.
I mean, like Nikola Jokic is a top 20 player of all time by the time it's all said and done. I think there are 6 of those guys in the league right now. That's a conversation for a later date. That could be a hot take, but that's.
I think that the level of talent in the league right now is just so unbelievable.
Unparalleled.
It's so unbelievable.
My favorite thing to say is that there are no bums anymore. There's not a single bum.
No.
Period. It's too competitive.
No, there's not.
Yeah. We're getting to the point, man. The difference between your middle of the road guys and your stars, that gap is shortening. The middle of the road guys are so much better than they were 10 years ago. And 20 years ago, good grief, those guys wouldn't even make the league now. And I think we're lucky to have this sort of upward trajectory of talent in the league.